Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And I am here at the Edinburgh service centre, where we have got quite a lot of Model 3 Highlands in pretty much every colour you can get. So obviously the new Stealth Grey, fabulous red, the white one that I've got, and of course there is a blue one inside, which I am now dropping in as an insert, which I filmed in there with a cheery smile at the staff. You guys tell me which of the colours you think works best. I know what my favourite is. What's yours? First of all, I've got to ask, do you like the new title sequence? Really big thanks to my friend Jim Gardner for sorting me out with a music bed. Cheers, mate. I think it adds a little bit of something now that we're kicking on with this channel with so many new people coming in and watching and subscribing. Thanks so much. This trip is one of my semi-regular business trips where basically I'm in the car for 2 days, 3 days, somewhere around that, driving around the country. I set off well after lunch this afternoon. It's now 4:10. The car originally, to get me to Manchester, was planning to do a one-stop Larkhall, which is one of the new chargers on the M74, but I have come back past Edinburgh, as frankly I always do, so a shorter stop here, then a short zap and dash effectively at Tebay, which will get me as far as Manchester. Here is an important point. When you're at a supercharger or you're planning on doing these things, remember that the car charges quicker when the battery is lower. Other YouTubers, one I've got in mind in particular, have got this mad habit of insisting they have to charge to 100% on every charge and then whining endlessly about how long they're sat charging. The longer you're here, the more power is in the battery, the slower the charge. So if you're on a trip where you're gonna need multiple stops, or where you've got a choice of one long stop or two shorter stops, the two shorter stops are probably going to be quicker because their battery will charge faster. If anyone has seen the Beyond Nylon channel, he always does more frequent shorter stops. It's just quicker. I've just arrived at Tebay, which is always a interesting place to put motorway services, but it's one of the good ones. So, just to show you, we have arrived on 13%. It's actually telling me I only need to be here for 10 minutes to get to my destination. However, I am staying longer than that because I am going to go and get some tea. As you can see, it's 20 to 7 in the evening. So time for foot. From an efficiency perspective, we have done 308 watt-hours per mile, which doesn't look great. However, that includes the climb up shaft. Basically, this is almost at the top, so it'll go back down again on the way down. Also worth noting, we have got new non-Tesla chargers being installed here at Tebay, which is good for other people. I feel better after that. It was definitely peckish, and this is probably the best service station in the whole country. Maybe the one in Gloucester is good because it's the same people, but honestly, this place is fabulous. It's not just the restaurant, which is really good. It's got a farm shop. It's not your usual bloody awful motorway service section, which is why stopping here for a little bit and charging up and eating kind of makes sense. And I do hear some comments where people say, oh, you have to stop where the chargers are. Well, you know what? You might have a point some of the time, but here, I actually do want to stop here because the food's fabulous and I'm going past at dinner time. So what's the problem, guys? Okay, last point before I unhook. You see the Ioniq that's charging there, those two new non-Tesla chargers units that have been put in, they are Swarco. Not heard of that one, but well, anyway, and they are charging 64p a kilowatt hour, which actually isn't too bad, because this is 55p a kilowatt hour because I'm at peak time. And you can tell I'm at peak time because there are 2 cars here and it's absolutely rammed. So only a little bit more expensive, but for the majority of the day, those chargers, let's get them behind me while I'm doing it, those chargers are 64p a kilowatt hour and these ones are 39 or 41. So a significant difference in price, like 50% more. And that's kind of the average user experience for people who aren't driving Tesla, sadly. I wish that hadn't tangled up. Anyway, as usual, push the button, it disconnects, the little flap closes, and we're away to go. I have got, what, 85 or something percent now, which is mountains and mountains and mountains, but I've literally just been sat there eating. And it's the same as with the Edinburgh stop. Okay, I'm not a normal user because I shoot YouTube video, but while I was parked up in Edinburgh, apart from a quick wee-wee, the entire time that I was there, I was filming. And then I unplugged and I went again. The entire time that I've been here, I've been eating, apart from the last 2 minutes shooting a bit of video. I'm not being held up by the fact that I'm in a Tesla. Not at all. So, time to go. See you in Manchester in the morning. Good morning. It is 9 o'clock. I am in southwest Manchester and I've got both a little bit of time and spare battery. So I thought it'd be interesting to go to the Trafford Supercharger because it's a couple of miles away and I can kind of go past it on my way out of the city, because I keep reading things about the Trafford Supercharger and how bad it is, and I think there's 18 stalls but it's full of delivery vans or something. Well, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's likely to be busy. Let's go and have a look. You see, this is the kind of thing that I like to try and do on this kind of trip where I can, basically so that you don't have to. This is life with a Tesla. I've got power to get me to where I'm going, where there is charging, by the way. I can literally plug in while I'm on the customer site doing meetings, but I am curious, how bad is this supercharger? So I'm gonna see what kind of speed we get off it, because that's the other thing. It's a busy site, it might be a bit slow. I'm just curious, genuinely doing this for science. Again, I have got enough power to get me where I'm going. I'm just doing this because, well, it's content, you know? Wait for the light to do its thing. Flash, 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 flash. And it's gone green. Right. Manchester, Trafford Supercharger, available to non-Tesla. Yeah, you're not kidding. Should we see how many non-Tesla we have got? So we've got an MG4, we've got an X, a couple of Highlands. What's that? Mustang, Kia, Jaguar. So it's busy, but I mean, there's what, still another 1, 2, 3, 4 or so spaces. So it's not that busy, not really. And that's at 9 in the morning, guys. So on a weekday, you know, if it's going to be busy, it should be busy. And to be fair, I mean, I've got a 45% full battery and it's pulling 111 kilowatts. I don't think that's bad at all. So I'm guessing with this one that it's obviously, right, let's look at where it is. So this is basically, put north up here and that would help. North, right. So look, this is essentially in southwest Manchester, if you don't know it, right by the M60 motorway. So I suppose this is quite good for people going past driving somewhere. So a supercharger at a giant shopping mall, and by the way guys, I really hate this place, but a supercharger at a giant shopping mall doesn't really make a huge amount of sense, but as somewhere to stick it right next to the motorway, I mean, let's be honest, these shopping palaces burn mountains and mountains and mountains of power, so I suppose sticking you know, a load of megawatt cabinets in isn't going to be a problem. So talking about the left side being the right side and the right side being the wrong side, I spotted in the fender. You see the Ford Mach-E Mustang thing. So he is charging to the stall on the wrong side, which means although there is an empty space there, that's not actually usable because he's the wrong way around. So the Mustang has got the charging flap on the front left, and that simply doesn't work with V3 chargers like this one. In fact, actually, looking at it, we've got another one up here. So the I-Pace has done the same thing. So we've got another one where basically, yeah, you've got an I-Pace and he also is plugged in to the wrong side. So there are, at the moment, 3 bays free, but actually only that one is free because that one is effectively blocked. So's that one. So, okay, I kind of take the point. This supercharger is really busy at 9 in the morning on a weekday. But we do have this other issue where basically when Tesla open V3 sites up to cars, it's a real problem if you've got a Duff EV with the port on the wrong side. So the V4 stalls, and again, these are all V3, but the V4 stalls, they've got a much longer cable so that you can do basically a reach around. The thing is, I think there's going to need to be signage, and I have said this before, because it's not necessarily clear which way round you're supposed to be when you're plugged into these things. So if people don't understand that you have to use the stall on your left, regardless of the length of the cable, they're going to plug into the one on their right, which is wrong. East Midlands Gateway coming up on the customer site. Supposedly they have got a row of chargers, so there's one way to find out. Let's see if there's I'm on 48%, so I already knew I had bags of power anyway, so I don't need it, but as always be charging if you can be. Although, frankly, they all look completely full, so I don't think we're going to be bothering with that one. Ooh. Oh, I don't know, actually. Nope, there's a reason why this is the single space that's available. We see the red ring of death. Fair enough. All the rest of them have got people on them. Apart from that one, which is coned off for some reason and doesn't look alive anyway, so okay, let's not bother. On my way up the M1, customer meetings, plural, done. Car's got 41% of power left in it, but I'm going to plug in at the hotel when I get there. I've now got basically a van. I am that heavily loaded up with stuff which I am bringing back. We are still burning energy. I mean, I'm on 317 watt hours per mile since I topped it up, but frankly that is, I suspect, partly due to speed up, slow down traffic and the fact that I've got a load of weight. So we'll keep an eye on it still, which is a pity because before that we were getting like your 260, 265 watt hours per mile this morning, which is back to kind of what I'd be expecting in this sort of conditions where it's 11 degrees, so it's not cold, and as you can see, it's dry. Sheffield city centre, and it's 6 o'clock, so in the midst of the big rush, I suppose. I am not going into my usual street car park because I have got a car absolutely loaded up with stuff. Instead, we're going to stick it in the hotel. It costs more, but if I'm a really lucky boy, I'll be able to get access to the 3-pin and plug the car in overnight. I'm on 31%. Again, I've got plenty of power to get me on my way tomorrow, but if there's an opportunity there to charge, I'm going to charge. How busy does it look in there? Busy, yes. Completely full, no. Can I reach across? Maybe. Oh, I hate this car park. So if I'm going to plug in, I'm going to need to go into there and reach across. I'll try and reach across. So I'm going to have to speak up a little bit because that fan unit over there is very loud. So, 2 sockets, I'm plugged in, the BMW is charging, my socket doesn't work at all, which is annoying because the wire would definitely fit to be able to plug in, but that plug has got no power. Arse. So this is basically the 2nd time on this trip that I have come to public charging which doesn't work, which is why I get a Tesla. Right, I've had the hotel guy out and he has tried to reset this and it's doing nothing, but look what he has found for me. We have got a non-Tesla charger. Now at the moment it's only outputting 6 amps, but it looks like it can go to a lot more than 6 amps. So it is working. What we need to do is to unplug it and see if we can get more out of it. Okay, so I've now unplugged it. So it says press the button to change it. 10 amps, 13 amps, 16 amps. Oh, it'll go all the way to 32 amp. You know what? It won't take very long at 32, so let's go to 16. Really is making a dent still. So 32% and it's on 16 amps as I put it on. So it's drawing 4 kilowatts, which means it's going to charge up in 13 hours, and it's 6:30 at night to 90, well, 89, 90%. I tend not to go anywhere really above that. Good morning, and as you can see I moved space because the BMW shifted and I didn't want the cable that isn't mine stretched across the parking base. So this commando charge has been really good because I've been pulling 16 amps and I could have had 32, which really would have been useful had I needed that much power. It's actually now on 95% in the car, and the other point of course is I could get a commando adapter for my own Tesla 3-pin charger, so instead of being 10 amps on a 3-pin it could be 32. That's 40 quid, which I haven't really had much need to go onto a commando type socket like that one, but maybe it's worth getting. Anyway, let's get unhooked and then let's get out of this horror car park where this looks fairly easy, I'm sure, because this is nice and widescreen, but the reality is my car has got the turning circle of a super tanker, and well, you see that? That's somebody's bodywork scraping on the pillar. Hopefully not mine. So for whatever reason, the camera decided not to record the audio on this section, and frankly, it's better watching it in high speed as you watch me ineptly trying to shunt forwards and backwards like Austin Powers. In essence, trying to get the car out and backed through the pillar wasn't going to work, so I ended up going all the way forward and then trying to spin the thing around before I got to the pillar now, as you're seeing. And I have sped this up, but it did take about 10 minutes or something ridiculous in total. Basically, I just wanted to angle the car backwards around the pillar so that I can make better use of the turning circle going backwards than I can forwards to eventually, as I'm doing now, finally being able to squeeze out and onto the road. I'm on the A65 west of Skipton, heading towards Settle and then onwards to the M6. So I was in Sheffield this morning, as you saw. I had a stop in Leeds. I'm going to do a stop in a place called Kirkby Lonsdale, and then I am heading home. This is exactly the kind of trip. Oh, by the way, the car is basically almost as full as it was when I set off. I've offloaded one box. But basically, the car is full of stuff which I am hauling back north. This is the kind of trip where, when I've done them in the past, some people have said nobody does that kind of trip, as in stopping at various points. And okay, I haven't had to stop to dial into meetings. Instead, I've been having them basically dialing in on the phone to things while I've been driving in various places. I work in the food industry, and I spent the best part of 20 years effectively on the road, both in field sales and then increasingly into management and senior management and whatever. This kind of thing is just kind of normal to me. So some people, sure, you want to drive for 8 hours and wee at a bottle because you never ever stop. Good on you. For the rest of us who actually have to work for a living and do various things, that doesn't always mean going directly back or either home or to wherever it is you're going in the fastest possible time, because there are other things that need to be done. And in this case, I've got the opportunity to go across country into a part of the world that I don't get to see very often, and basically get paid while I'm doing it. So don't tell me I'm wrong, guys. This is fine. Meanwhile, though, the car, I was saying about Night being increasingly efficient on these tyres. Since I set off from Sheffield, I have done 64 miles, and I'm burning 276 watt hours per mile. So the consumption has dropped, and it's dropped fairly significantly versus the 300 odd where I started. The lifetime average now on these CrossClimate2 tyres after 677 miles is now on 293 watt hours per mile. So again, they are bedding in. And my impressions of them, because again, we're still talking about the tyres, they give a more forgiving and compliant ride than the Hankook summer tyres. So they're probably a little bit softer. They definitely, to me, feel just that little bit more compliant. I don't think they are quite as glued on rails into corners as the Hankooks, but I have gone barreling in and done the usual mid-corner lift to tighten in, and it tightens like a gun. So they are still nice and grippy, good handling tyres. And having driven through a couple of really quite wet bits, I can certainly notice the difference in terms of the amount of grip that I've got, albeit off a worn pair of Summers. So I suppose going from worn Summers to brand new all-season tyres, that's probably the most extreme swing in terms of performance in the wet that you're going to get. I can certainly appreciate that. Just arrived at Kirkby Lonsdale, and here at this Perth Supermarket, it's good that we've got a whole stack of these Instavolt units. The only problem, of course, is 85p a kilowatt hour. 85p. No thank you. Well now, and by the way, a car which is quite full of quite a lot of stuff. You can't see those necessarily, and the stuff under the floor, so we are using it as a van. Right, it's telling me go to Larkhall, 5%. So it reckons I can make it to Larkhall on 5%. Should we give it a whirl? To be honest, I think I could do with some sucky sweets of some kind, because my throat isn't particularly happy. So I've gone onto the screen and it's saying 4 stalls available, 4 cars en route. Well, if they're en route, that means that they're not there. So maybe I just do a zap and dash, grab some sweets, and that gives me the opportunity to bin off Abington. I think they're upgrading Abington, and I don't think the upgrade's finished. So it says 6 stalls are available, but it doesn't actually give me any kind of live status, which feels like a risk. Well, that's better, having got my throat sorted out. So, change of strategy, as I had to stop before I coughed myself to death. I'm Tebay, so I'm now going to go to Perth, and then so basically nearly done here now, and then we'll get going. So these Swarco chargers behind me, and there's 2 of them, they are 104 kilowatts maximum speed, 104 versus our 250. They also charge you 64p a kilowatt hour versus our 40. Just get a Tesla, quicker charging, cheaper charging, easier charging. Why are you buying other cars, guys? We've just gone past Abington services on the motorway towards Glasgow, southern uplands. Lots and lots of wind turbines generating filthy coal power, which is what the critics say is definitely what's powering this car. What's interesting on this is I've gone onto the energy use app and put it up on this. So it's telling me I'm going to arrive on 10.4% at the Supercharger in Perth, but interestingly it gives you variance as to what it was originally predicting. So I've used 3.7% more power, 3.5 okay more, and it's saying 3.9 miles per hour wind from the northwest, sorry, cost 2.8% on this trip. So the northwesterly, and there was a windsock at one point pushing in, and I could see some trucks wobbling a little bit, but basically that headwind effectively has increased energy consumption. I'm on 306 since we charged up, so that has cost an extra 2.8% out of the battery. So this is the point where we have these conversations on Facebook forums and things where people say, my car's supposed to do 300 miles and I've put it on to the thing and it's showing 270. Is it broken? And the answer, of course, is no, because the mileage number up here is not correct. That is not live. It's not based on how you're driving or wind conditions or anything else. It's just an estimate. The live position looks at all of the conditions, including wind, and tells you down to 0.1% how much energy that's cost. And that is about as accurate as it gets. So it's saying I'm going to arrive on 9%, there's 78 miles left to run, and on the 30 mile I've got 83 miles left, but I have been climbing hills and I'm now going, as you can see, downhill. So in essence, it's burned more power on the way up, it will then burn less power on the way down. The car knows that because it knows the gradient profiles of the route, and that is how it's able to get to such an accurate prediction as to what's going to be left in the battery. And that, if you're doing a trip like, well, any kind of trip, that is all that matters. How much battery power is going to be left? Forget the miles, look at the percentage. Just plugged in at Perth and it is ramping up. What happened to the thing then? So I expect we are going to pull that kind of amount of power fairly consistently now, because 8% battery and these are 150 kilowatt stalls, and I'm not split, so I've made sure that I'm not parked next to somebody and splitting their charge. So we should pull that for quite a mile, 25 minutes to wait. Good. That was a nearly 3-hour leg, and as you can see, massive queue as always, but that was quite a lengthy leg, and I absolutely need to both leg stretch and respond to some emails, because again, my life is I need to do things like that. Your life might be wanting to wee in a bottle as you drive for 8 hours non-stop. Horses for courses. It's the day after, and what did we learn on that trip? And it was fairly lengthy, 3 days and 949 miles. So the tyres have definitely bedded in. Overall trip efficiency was 294 watt hours per mile, which is broadly in line with where it had been previously on the other tyres, especially on a longer trip with plenty of motorway on it. So if you like videos like this where I basically drive the car around and show you how practical it is and how doing long trips is relatively straightforward, make sure you have subscribed. It's free, honestly. It also helps the channel. Leave me comments, share the video, do all of those wonderful things, and I'll see you back here very soon on Just Get a Tesla.